This week's presentation is about surprisingly deadly fruit.
Surprisingly deadly fruits.
I am scared to find out.
Is that like a gay assassin?
Not that kind. Just off the top of your head, have you? Do you know any deadly fruits? Any little sneaky delicious treats that could kill you if you're not careful?
Bananas. Bananas have so much potassium that if you ate lots of them, you would die.
Lots and lots.
You would glow
lots
green, and you would melt the building.
I don't think that's what potassium does.
Probably die for other reasons first.
Nuclear
like
radiation.
If you ate that many bananas.
You probably actually like physically erupt before.
Yeah. And yeah. The amount of bananas you have to eat is like 1,500. But
do you think it would make it better or worse if you're having the dried bananas?
Oh, I fucking love dried bananas.
They're really good. I haven't had.
I love them too much because my mum, when I'd have a packet of them, would always have to remind me that each dried banana is actually
a banana.
A whole banana. It's just dried, so don't eat a whole packet of them in one go.
And our uncle would remind us that it has a really high glycemic index, so
sugar in it, tasty.
Yeah.
That's why it tastes so good. That's why it tastes so good. Rach, you got any ideas? Any suspicious fruits that you're aware
There's a thing
of?
about apple pips having cyanide, and I guess probably other pips having cyanide also, like other stones of fruits and stuff.
Yeah, those things like apricots and those kinds of drupes, that we've talked about on this show before, were definitely coming up in my research for surprisingly deadly fruits because of the cyanide content of them. Don't eat too many. But apple seeds aren't really going to do you that much harm. But don't eat a bunch of like apricot pips. They will taste horrible, so you won't. But don't do it.
The only thing that's on my mind at the minute is that ricin comes from castor beans, but that's a bean. It's not a fruit.
Yeah, Rach, that's a bean.
It's a
Yeah,
bean.
Rach, that's a bit. It's probably not even a bean. It's probably a drupe.
All right. First up.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. We've been here. We've been here. I forgot that it was a fruit as well.
So, the cashew fruit, as we've been through before, is actually a drupe. The beautiful long yellow fruit that you can see there is the cashew apple, which is actually an accessory fruit because it doesn't grow out of the ovary of the flower. It actually grows from the stem kind of swelling and kind of growing that fruit. So it doesn't have seeds inside. The cashew nut is the actual seed of the fruit, and the cashew fruit you can see in those young ones on the left. You can see that that sort of cashew shape grows first, and then the stem kind of like swells behind it to make the sweet fruit. And people do eat the that yellow fruit as well. That's the accessory fruit. It's quite astringent and quite fibrous, but very sweet. So often they make juices out of it as well. But they do eat that like as it is whole as well.
It looks a bit like a Pokemon.
Like a Pokemon, yeah.
Like a Weeping Bell almost.
Yeah. But the actual fruit of the cashew fruit, so that's the fruit that forms directly around the cashew nut, and that is, formed from the ovary wall of the flower. That contains a quite nasty toxin called urushiol, which is the same toxin that's found in poison ivy.
Oh.
So it's a really nasty irritant.
What was it called again?
Urushiol.
I mean, urushiol. Oh.
It's very nasty. It can cause like severe contact dermatitis, really like nasty rashes and blistering, and so that's kind of all in this like nasty sap that is kind of layered in between that fleshy fruit cashew fruit part and the nut that's inside it, or the seed. Not botanically, technically a nut, but that doesn't matter.
Here at Next Lychees, we're anti-science. We don't agree
that's not
with
what we're
the
here for.
classification of nuts.
But it is a very nasty toxin, and the people who actually process and pick and prepare cashew nuts for consumption often do come away with lots of very nasty rashes and blistering. But the actual aside from just that plant itself, the actual processes that people use to make the final product safe are very nasty and dangerous for the workers. So they will leave the fruits to sun dry, and then they will roast them. And whilst they're roasting, they will sometimes expel this hot burning sap will just spit out of these roasting environments and can land on them. So you've got, as well as the nasty concentrated toxic sap that's hitting them, it's also incredibly hot and can cause serious burns. And on top of that, it can catch fire. The roasting process can set that sap on fire. Jesus. And release tons of really nasty fumes into the air, which can be deadly for some people. And all of these things could be dealt with much more safely, with simple protective equipment, making sure that everybody has gloves, making sure that the roasting is done in a safe way. People typically try and make it safer by layering sand on top of the roasting nuts, or just keeping a lid over it to stop the sap from spitting out.
Wouldn't that then just explode the lid?
I think that's probably why the sand is used instead of the lids in some places, because it's it allows movement within it. But I think it's not it's so explosive that the whole thing is going to explode.
Yeah. And all that for just some cashews.
Yeah. And
nice.
breathing gear as well. People need breathing gear for roasting this stuff, and
Jesus
they
Christ.
rarely get all of the equipment that they need to be able to do this
imagine.
safely, and do end up suffering really nasty consequences. So, cashew nuts, surprisingly and unfortunately, deadly. Cashew fruits. Okay, next up, coconut. Does anyone have any guesses for how coconuts kill people?
Do they land on people's heads? Do they hit people's heads?
Eagle picks him up. I'm glad you've got Britain's best scientific minds to crack this case, Nat.
Jen's got it. Jen's on it. She's too quick for me.
Thousands of people die a year. Thousands of people die a year from coconuts hitting their heads.
So here's our beautiful, you can see the coconut tree. You can see how big that coconut is. You can see how high up it is. It's a recipe for disaster. However, very interesting, Jen, that you say thousands of people die from coconuts hitting their head, because that was my presumption too. And when I looked up coconut kill... dying from coconut landing on head. This is what I found.
Okay.
Death by coconut.
Oh my god, there's a whole
article.
Wikipedia page about it. I'd have made this into an entire episode, by the way.
It could be. It could have been. Beware fallen coconuts. I'm just going to read you the introduction of the Wikipedia article for Death by Coconut, because I think it's entertaining on its own. So I was really trying to look for how many people die from death by coconut. Coconuts falling from their trees and striking individuals can cause serious injury to the back, neck, shoulders, and head, and occasionally fatal. Following a 1984 study on injuries due to falling coconuts, exaggerated claims spread concerning the number of deaths by falling coconuts. Falling coconuts, according to urban legend, kill a few people a year. This gained momentum after 2002 after the 2002 work of a noted expert on shark attacks was characterized as saying that falling coconuts kill 150 people each year worldwide. This statistic has often been contrasted with the number of shark-caused deaths per year, which is around 5. So you can see how this like little stat kind of blew up, because it's like, everyone's so worried about shark attacks, but don't you know more people die of falling coconuts every year than sharks? Concern about the risk of fatality due to falling coconuts led officials in Queensland, Australia, to remove coconut trees from beaches in 2002. One newspaper dubbed coconuts the killer fruit. Historical reports of actual death by coconut nonetheless date back to the 1770s. So, yes, you can die by a coconut landing on your head.
But it's not 150 over, yeah.
But it's not that significant, and it's one of those, like, fun facts that's kind of thrown around and has caused it to be, like, a little exaggerated, so...
But do they actually kill more than sharks? That would be the question I would ask, even if it's not 150.
That is... Yeah, I still couldn't find, like, a good kind of statistic or estimation, so I have no idea.
Nobody's collecting that data.
Yeah.
There's a job. There's a career for you there, right? Coconut death researcher.
Sometimes it does feel like you should just be able to Google things, and then you have to think about, like, okay, but why would anybody ever try and find
yeah, exactly.
Like, why would somebody have put time into finding this answer?
I'm just like, I really wish someone else had asked this same question as me and thought it was important enough to actually do all the research into it, whereas I just want to use the work someone else has done and put it in my funny slideshow.
I just wish I could Google what to get my friends for Christmas. What should I get Steve for Christmas?
I bet you could do that and find some fun answers.
They're never fun. They're always really boring. I've done it.
Right.
It's
gadgets.
Apron, but it's got boobs on it.
I'd be up for that.
So, sadly, coconut landing on the noggin is not the only way to die by coconut. Another way, according to this Wikipedia article,
is it
going in with the hammer and then the hammer recoils and hits you?
That's got to be some, right? I feel like there has to be some.
Yeah.
Is it drowning?
Or you hit it against the wall really hard and it goes... Because, that's how I smash coconuts. I put them in a bag and I smash them on the pavement outside.
No, don't do that. You just get a hammer. A hammer and a...
People chewing too long and then their jaw just gets so tired that it gives up forever.
Is it people bathing in the juice, the coconut milk, and falling asleep in it and then drowning?
Getting wrinkly fingers and then slipping and it's none of those. Another way to die by coconut is to suffer sudden cardiac death as a result of hyperkalemia after consuming moderate to large quantities of coconut water due to the high levels of potassium in coconut water.
So like bananas.
So but I assume it has to be a good amount and also combined with personal circumstances to result in
it's still probably easier
dangerous.
Than bananas because at least you can pee it out.
Yeah, and also it's a lot easier to drink loads of liquid than eat tons of bananas, right?
Just hold it in you.
Yeah, I love coconut water. I drink loads of coconut water. It's so delicious. Next up, we've got the very exciting ackee fruit, which is the national fruit of Jamaica. It is a soap berry in the same family as lychees and longans. It's native to West Africa and was brought to Jamaica and the Caribbean, and now it's the national fruit of Jamaica. And the dish on the right that you see here is the national dish of Jamaica, which is ackee and saltfish. Apparently, it is very delicious when properly prepared and cooked, but also fatally dangerous when it's not.
So it's like fugu.
There's a puffer fish, yeah.
Yeah. So the part that you eat, if you look at the left picture, it's so you've got these like pretty black seeds, and the bit that you eat is the kind of white flesh that's around those on the inside of the kind of shell.
Yeah.
And when they're cooked, they apparently taste kind of nutty and also have kind of a scrambled egg kind of texture, which you can kind of see where that comes from just looking at the dish, right?
Yeah.
It kind of looks...
The dish that looks quite a lot like scrambled egg.
Yeah. But so that part is called the arils of the fruit. And when they're unripe, they, and also the sort of inedible portions of the fruit, so that's the kind of the flesh surrounding it, and obviously also the seeds, contain high quantities of the toxin hyperglycin A and also hyperglycin B, which are known as soapberry toxins, because apparently they occur in varying quantities in other soapberries as well. And so when this fruit is consumed unripe, or the wrong part of it is eaten, it can cause hypoglycemia or Jamaican vomiting sickness. Yeah, so obviously it's such a, it is the national fruit and it's consumed in such regularity that it's kind of, but you can also, like, you can find it pre-prepared in salted brine in like tins in the supermarket and the like world foods aisle as well. So I'm really keen to try it because I think it looks really nice.
How do you get your girlfriend to eat ackee?
I don't know, Jen. How do you get your girlfriend to eat ackee?
Jamaica.
Oh, okay. That's good. That was good. I'm impressed with that.
That's all I was thinking about, by the way. I didn't listen to a word you were saying.
The whole time you're just like,
how do I make this a joke?
Jamaican national fruit. Okay.
Jamaica sounds a bit like Jamaica. How do I make...
That was good work, Jen. That was good work. I hope everyone appreciates that. They subscribe, they share the video for more high quality jokes from Jen.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, next up, we've got lychees.
Oh.
So, another soapberry.
They look like chocolate covers. They look like if they're like strawberry coated chocolate instead of chocolate covered strawberries.
Yeah.
I love lychees. They're one of my favorite fruits. They're just really delicious, and the texture is like so interesting, kind of like little chewy, blobby kind of things. But under particular circumstances, they have been known to be responsible for a great number of deaths. Every summer in regions in India, there were waves of recurring neurological illnesses happening, especially in children, especially very young children, that were being called acute encephalitis syndrome, or AES, which is characterized by the rapid onset of fever combined with disorientation and seizures. The syndrome was ascribed to a number of causes, including viruses spread by mosquitoes and human contact, bacterial infections, parasites, and toxins, and that had been presumed to be the cause of these outbreaks that were occurring, that had been kind of observed occurring basically every summer in this region since 1995. And this is particularly the Muzaffarpur region in India that we're talking about, but I think it also occurs in other places in India. India's National Centre for Disease Control was investigating in more recent years. Basically, they were expecting to see viral outbreaks causing this acute encephalitis syndrome, and they weren't seeing the virus present in the majority of cases that were coming in. And eventually they put it together that it was coinciding with the month-long lychee harvesting season in this region on a yearly basis. because this region was a major lychee growing region, and they eventually determined that under the particular circumstances that were kind of recurring again and again in the area, where you have like young children who are undernourished, especially if they didn't eat dinner the day after eating specifically a number of unripe lychees, the next day they would be coming down with this like serious neurological illness that was actually killing like large numbers of kids in this area.
So what was causing it? Was it just like something in the lychees that if you eat afterwards it just goes out, but if you don't eat afterwards it stays in and causes problems? Or
yeah, they put it down to particular toxins in the lychees that, you know, to most people under most circumstances are not harmful, but under these particular circumstances were like really deadly to these kids. I will add a little thing afterwards to say what the particular toxin is, because I feel like that should be in there.
Oh, thanks, teacher Nat. That was really interesting addition to the presentation.
Okay, next up, grapefruit. This one I find especially surprising and interesting.
I do hate grapefruit, and I have heard that it kills people. So if you're taking particular medications, right?
Yes, that's exactly right.
A grapefruit's
I really
even a
like
grape.
grapefruit. No, they're not. I don't even. Why are they called grape? Why? Tell you what, actually, I've got one. I just remembered. This guy is surprisingly deadly. The humble grapefruit. Nice, delicious, bitter fruit that it is.
It's not that nice.
I really like grapefruit. I think it's very special tasting. However, as Rachel pointed out, already seems to be aware of, it can very dangerously interact with a massive number of medications. The enzyme responsible is the CYP3A4 enzyme that exists in the small intestine, and it works very hard there, breaking down lots of different things, especially drugs. And the grapefruit contains high quantities of furanocoumarins, which keep this enzyme very busy. And basically, when drug manufacturers are creating drugs that you're going to ingest, they account for the presence of this enzyme in your body. So they put a quantity of the drug that they expect to be broken down and basically like wasted by this enzyme, and then they put more in than that they expect to actually be taken up and used by your body, and that's talking about bioavailability. And because the grapefruit so effectively occupies and keeps this enzyme busy, it means that there's way more bioavailability of this drug, of this medication in your system than you were actually prescribed, than you were actually expecting to be taking. Up to like 90%.
Wow.
So yeah, like up to 90% of a lot of drugs would be sort of broken down by this enzyme and are then instead are bioavailable for your body to use, and this can lead to like really serious overdoses or like, you know, regular overdosing of different medications if people are especially because lots of people make a habit, right, of you drink grapefruit juice in the morning, that's your breakfast thing, and you know, have your daily medications.
For kind of similar reasons, if you're quite a heavy drinker, or you drink quite a lot quite regularly, you shouldn't take paracetamol to get over a hangover or something. Because one of the one of the like breakdown pathways produces quite a toxic, like, chemical.
Yeah. It's
would ordinarily be broken down very quickly, so it doesn't really matter. But if you're drinking a lot, it doesn't do that.
Right. Like, quite kind of similarly to, you get told not to drink alcohol at the same time as taking lots of kinds of medications, because and that will be because of how alcohol kind of occupies your liver, right? And your liver is responsible for dealing with lots of kinds of toxins and drugs and things like that.
Yeah.
And if it's already occupied so much with alcohol, then it doesn't have the capacity to deal with your with drugs and medications and things as well. But the effect of the grapefruit basically like taking up all the capacity of this enzyme and basically, you know, just one whole grapefruit or one glass of grapefruit juice can be enough to like produce this really dramatic effect, and it can last for 1 to 3 days before your body basically replaces that enzyme in your small intestine. And it's such a serious phenomenon that medications are often labeled with don't consume grapefruit or grapefruit juice with this medication, because it is such a known dangerous phenomenon. And it affects like an enormous array of medications, including blood pressure medication, anti-anxiety, blood thinners, pain medication, transplant rejection medications.
I mean, grapefruit tastes bad, so you kind of assume that it's good for you.
I don't.
Right? People have that.
And it is good for you. It's got lots of loads of vitamin C in it, and it tastes really good. And I love grapefruit.
And it's got loads of Farana
cumarins. It's got loads of those,
and they're so good for you. They occupy the CYP3A4 enzyme.
Yeah, if we're picking up on like people's pronunciation, I do think it's encephalitis and not encephalitis. Like, I don't really know, but it's a brain thing. So
it's like people say cephalopods instead of cephalopods.
But it sounds better, right?
It does sound better, so I'm just going to continue saying cephalopod and encephalitis.
Yeah.
And
I don't know what the consensus is on the encephalitis.
Similarly, star fruits actually have the exact same property and problem as grapefruits, and should also be considered carefully in conjunction with a number of medications. Next up, and also last of all, we've got the cannonball fruit. Can anyone tell me what's deadly about the cannonball fruit?
Were they used as ammunition in the 1700s?
That was my suspicion also.
No.
Oh. Oh, well.
Do primates throw them at people?
It's really just the obvious. It's the same as the coconut. They're big and heavy, and they've got quite a hard exterior, and they're actually named cannonball fruits after the thud noise that they make when they land on the ground from quite a height, and when they land, it's quite a strange fruit. When it lands on the ground, it kind of splits open a little bit, and it's really fucking stinky. It's really stinky, and it attracts animals from all around because it smells so bad, and it's apparently is known to have been eaten whole by giant sloths in the long distant past. So it had this kind of primary distributor of seeds that no longer exists, but it gets by on all the other little animals attracted by its stinky smell.
Do you think this cannonball fruit is another one of those plants that deliberately kills animals so that it can have more nutrients?
Oh,
I doubt it, because it looks like it's growing in a fairly lush environment. But
yeah, I don't.
Could do if it wanted.
You know, I don't know that it really kills in any great number. I really had to put it in because it's called a cannonball fruit.
Is it cannonball or cannonball?
Cannonball fruit.
Okay.
Okay.
Wait. Have I done it again?
Oh, classic.
Shit, you're right.
Classic Nat.
You're right. Fuck.
Classic Nat.
I did it again. Yeah, it's cannonball fruit. Yeah. And this is what it looks like inside. Yeah.
Ooh. Looks like mouldy cheese.
Yeah, moldy
So-
and milky.
Yeah, it's got this kind of gelatinous inside that turns blue as it oxidizes. It apparently tastes very bad, kind of chemical, and it's actually it is edible when ripe, not so much when not ripe. Kind of toxic when unripe. It is edible when ripe, but not actually commonly eaten because it's kind of gross.
Yeah.
But it does apparently, it is used for medicinal purposes.
Because everything that tastes bad's got to be good for you.
Yeah, exactly.
Like the grapefruit.
Well, I just think grapefruit tastes good.
No.
I'm just accustomed to the taste. It's an acquired taste, and I've acquired it.